Defense Minister's ouster shows graft is a persistent headache for Ukraine. President Volodymyr Zelensky's removal of the minister was a reminder of the enduring challenge of corruption in Ukraine's military. Who is Rustem Umerov, President Volodymyr Zelensky's nominee for Defense Minister of Ukraine? The leaders of Russia and Turkey are meeting amid efforts to revive a Black Sea grain deal. Soldiers in camouflage uniforms unloading munitions from the back of a truck in a wooded area. Ukrainian army soldiers unloading munitions. Irregularities in procurement of weapons have been a persistent challenge. Tyler Hicks / The New York Times. Faced with evolving threats, U.S. Navy struggles to change cheaper and more flexible vessels could be vital in a conflict with China, but the Navy is lashed to programs driven by tradition, politics, and jobs. An overhead view of a shipbuilding yard on the water, with many yellow cranes and metal equipment. Annie Flanagan for the New York Times. From Mississippi to Bahrain to see the future of the Navy. Eric Lipton reporting on changes in warfare and investigation into the Navy's efforts to modernize to better prepare for a potential conflict with China took me on a long journey from Pascagoula, Mississippi, to the Middle East. Here's what I saw. Andrea DiCenzo for the New York Times. Two pilots in green jumpsuits stand next to gray Valkyrie autonomous jet, which looks like a small plane or large combat drone, in a hangar. A man in a suit looks up at a screen showing a drone's view of an orange object in the water. Two drones of different sizes are displayed on the wall underneath the screen. A conservative push to save Ken Paxton in Texas. The effort to help the Texas Attorney General, whose impeachment trial starts Tuesday, is part of an ongoing struggle over the Republican Party's future. A man in a dark suit stands at a podium that contains a seal that says in part, "The Attorney General." Eric Gates / Associated Press. Affirmative action is over. Should applicants still mention their race? The first high school seniors to apply to college since the Supreme Court's landmark decision are trying to sort through a morass of conflicting guidance. Students work on first drafts of college essays. They read what they've written out loud to other students, who take note of what stands out. Victor Llorente for the New York Times. Anderson Cooper is still learning to live with loss. The fact that I'm 56 and still realizing I never grieved when I was 11? That's ridiculous, says the CNN anchor. Mamadi Doumbouya for the New York Times. Trapped Burning Man attendees may get to leave on Monday. Thousands of people have been stranded for days at the festival's remote desert site in Nevada because of torrential rain and mud. What is the Burning Man Festival? Christina Kelso, China's leader, looks set to skip G20 summit and snub to India. Xi Jinping has never missed the annual gathering since taking power. Beijing would not explain his apparent decision to forego the event in New Delhi. Xi Jinping, China's leader, with Narendra Modi, India's Prime Minister, and several other leaders. Yeshil Panchayat / EPA, via Shutterstock Sunak, behind in UK polls, embraces divisive politics with an election looming next year. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and his party are turning to populist issues like climate, refugees, and crime. Rishi Sunak with a uniformed police officer inspecting a table of seized weapons. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak of Britain, right, has denounced stabbings in London and promised tighter regulation of knives. Pool photo by Justin Tallis. U.S. Open. What to know. Frances Tiafoe interview. Novak Djokovic returns to New York. The Coco and Jessie show at the U.S. Open. It feels like the 4th of July. It has been several decades since U.S. tennis players dominated this deep into their home Grand Slam tournament. The American Tennis Party looks to continue. Iga Swiatek, the #1 women's player, lost to Yelena Ostapenko in the 4th R. New York Times. Monday, September 11, 2023. Today's paper.